Okay, we've seen that story where people are talking about the lady, very viral video actually. The prelude to that story is a viral video of a lady who was complaining about the cost of living, how she's supposed to manage 33,000 naira from the federal government as a levy to survive as an NYSC core member. And, you know, we call them government picking, really, or the responsibility of the government. Earlier, as I said in the studio, to discuss this issue and more with me is Aliyu, Ilias, a development analyst, economist, supply chain expert.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us. You were asking a question while the package was going on, and what you said was, how are they supposed to survive with 33,000?
Right. So I think that's the statement, because I wonder how a core member at this point in time will survive with 33,000. Could that be for rent? Could that be for transport? Would that be for survivor? You know, I don't know how they want them to. I recall that government has said they are going to move it to 77,000.
That was a former director.
Yes, even the federal government actually alluded to it. So I don't know what is delaying it. And my question is that those that have served, why you approve that, are you going to still pay them the backlog now that they are not in NYSC? That's a question. The other thing is, you know, this life, economic life matters a whole lot. Do you know that that money cannot even transport you from your primary place to where you're supposed to serve? So for instance, maybe you are in Calabar, you went to Unical and you have to serve at a place like Kevi, a place like Kano. How much is transportation? Because I know for sure from here to Lagos, it can take 40,000. So let alone now, you now get that every month. So would that be for everyday transport? Because I can tell you, if you calculate from any place in Nigeria to another place, now you can't spend less than 1,000 naira. So if you're expending 1,000 naira maybe every day for 20 days, how will you now pay for your rent? How will you pay for the food you want to consume? How do you do other utilities that you need to do? So it's quite not unrealistic. It's not realistic. So I think federal government, as a matter of urgency, should look into it. And to the lady who actually spoke, you know, there's nothing we are also so concerned about like our economic life. Imagine where she takes it from, the cost of egg. You know, egg for that matter. So if you look at that cost per one and look at other condiments that you need to use to cook it, you discover that it's quite expensive. You know, in my lifetime, I always think it's only Lagos I see where they sell the tubal of yam. You know, they sell it single. But what of us are from the northern part of Nigeria who have actually resided north, you know, just have some little time in Lagos. We discover that in the north, you hardly buy single yam. You know, you buy 3, 7, in fact, some we even call it Korea and what have you. But now it's surprising. You have to buy it single. How much is one now?
Some even actually, you know, earlier, I think last year, we had a story here on Trust TV where the yams were pieces and cost, you know, to buy.
So it's pretty difficult. And you know before, there's what we call autonomous consumption. So when a core member comes to a particular community, the community will see that core member as their burden, and they will start supporting the community. I recall, come and take this, come and take that. In fact, if you're lucky to be maybe not in that urban rural area, whenever they go to farm, they come back and give you. But life has changed, because even they cannot cater for their own immediate needs.
Yes, they now even probably even see you as coming to help.
Exactly.
So they hike prices probably when they see you come to buy
it's a serious issue that government need to look into. If not, it's quite discouraging. In fact, as a core member now, unlike before, it's what you just have to do because of the law in it. There is no that enthusiasm of I want to serve the government. You know, there is that enthusiasm is not there anymore.
Okay, so the question of reintegrating, we'll take it that question has been answered, of getting people to be able to know the country and get us to mix up. The real aim of NYSC before the whole economic conversation comes in.
I think that has not been eroded, because I can tell you most people have not traveled out of their shore. But with NYSC, they've been able to travel. But what we are just saying is it's encouraging. You know, before you be eager. You know, I want to go out. You know, even you under your parents, maybe where you school, you still come back. You know, you want to actually go out. But now it's quite discouraging, because what you meet outside is the example of that lady. You know, the frustration, the challenges, the transport, the environmental challenge, and all of it. So that's the problem. But in terms of bringing unity, I will agree with that, because I have a brother who schooled around this central Nigeria, and by the time he goes to Calabar, he was calling me that it's a new dimension. In fact, there's a lady who work together today She was telling that the first time she moved out of a place was to come to Abuja, and we came together. I'm a Muslim, she's a Christian. You know, I'm from the Middle Belt, she's from the Southeast. You know, the culture we need to relate. Now, she now said what she got to hear before was not a reality when she actually comes around.
Just like myself, before I got here, everybody in the north is Hausa. When I got here, I realized there's Hausa, there's Nukwe, there's Kanuri, there's a lot of different people.
My name is Aliyu, Ilias, and funny enough, I cannot speak Hausa. So people will wonder, you are from the north, you are Aliyu, and you cannot speak Hausa, and I have to explain to them that my own part of
not the north central, it's not the...
Exactly, so those are the things that
okay, so now we see that some economic things have been added, like the SAID program to the NYSC.
Right.
And right now, the question is, because let's take a look at what the NYSC portrays, away from the integration and all that. People around the camps, you know, when NYSC rotation camps about to start, people around the camps are very excited because things have to be bought.
Correct.
The white and white have to be bought. People making the khaki have to, you know, sew.
You have to reshape.
You understand? The tailor's waiting for you, stand by, because, you know, the sizes will be given to you. So there's so much economic activity around the National Youth Service Corps nationwide. Do you think that it would be wise to say, let's scrap that? Would it have, if they were to be scrapped, would it impact the economy greatly?
Right. I will not say we should scrap, but we should review it. So when we say scrap simply means you are going to trade off a lot of things. Now, because like you rightly said, it brings economic life to any environment that it is. I remember alongside Kefi, before there was no NYSC camp, the immediately he got there, everything started changing. Though even myself, I involved in a side program. I usually go there to actually canvas for people to train. I train them, and from there I also make economic life to an extent at that period. So it brings a lot of opportunities for Nigeria. Apart from that, it also equips those core members, and that's where we have to look at it very well, because you know, you are coming from school life and you are coming to reality of you have to resume work. No matter what, then you have to learn some skills. Those are the things, maybe office rules. You know, you have to report to a particular office, do day to day, and what have you, and have experience. In fact, some people, it's a catalyst for some people to get another job.
Yes,
so a lot of advantage are there that we cannot just throw that away. And importantly, you know, when you are schooling, everybody is not like people that are doing essential school. Let me say pharmacists. A medical doctor, you know, they still come to service, but they have to go and do what we call housemanship. Housemanship give them practical experience, you know. But for us that are not in that line, it is NYSC we rely on to give us practical experience of what we actually study, if that is, or how to actually.
That is, if you're being posted in the right place according to what you study.
Well, that's posting to right place, you know, is arguable. It depends on what you study. You know, sometimes most of us, and that's why we have curriculum problem, and that's where we have to anchor this. That NYSC in totality cannot actually give us what we want. We must also look at our curriculum. I study economics in my first degree, you know, second degree, you know, I just move like that. So in my first degree, imagine I study computer economics. So as a computer economist, I can, because I remember throughout my first degree, I cannot regress. You know, I cannot use e-views. There's what we call e-views. So, but if you do computer economics, you can check inflation, you can regress, you can do time series, you can do. In fact, I can even start consulting from there. And another example is somebody who study physics. It may sound funny, but somebody who study physics will end up being a teacher, right? But if you study physics, electronics, right from first degree, you can even fix a phone. You know, when you started fixing, started making, you know, you can now think of, yes, let me do this, because you can do practical things that solve problems. So we must start thinking that those that are schooling, they should school to solve problems, not school to just have first degree. Exactly. So it's a very funny thing. And some people study business administration. So when you study business administration, public administration, you know, especially business administration, why not business administration in marine?
Hone it to something.
Yes, business administration in telecommunication. So you can really hold it to something, and you look at that area and develop business.
So people will argue that that's where the second degree, that's the postgraduate will come in.
I think that postgraduate, if you look at it, is much more academics. You should have go for MBA, Masters in Business Administration, and you don't specify either human resources, either, you know, so it's a two different, you know, I school in that area. So when you go for Masters master's. There's MSc, there's MBA.
Okay.
MSc tilts towards much more of education, while MBA is more of business. And for you to even call for MBA, we expect to have some experience. Then if you go abroad, let's see some people have like 5 MBA. Do you know why? Any position you are put to, you go and study MBA in that area to perform better.
Wow.
So if you move to another area, you still study to perform better. So that's what it should be. It should be for your core area to do better.
So basically everything is intertwined.
Exactly.
Goes back to education.
So our education have to be reviewed holistically. Look at Ghana. We can look at what they're actually doing in their academics. They have tried to really tie it to, and that's why you are doing projects. You are not doing projects to solve problems. You're just doing projects to pass. But if you are tied to a particular, area, you are tying. Your project is tied to a solving problem, and you also get money for doing that project.
Oh, that's very eye-opening, actually. So now we've talked about jobs. Do you actually think that NYSC contributes to job creation, or does it only provide short-term employment? Because some people go, and after that 1 year they're not retained. They now start join the some people like to call it favor market as opposed to labor market, but you know what I mean. So.
I understand. No, I think NYSC in their wisdom, we must also give them some kudos. In the year 2012,
okay,
they realized that Nigerians who actually serve after service, they don't have any particular skill, and they now brought about SAED, which is skill acquisition, entrepreneurship development. So if you look at that statement, you see that that word itself, it exposes us to a lot of things. I recall, like I said, I was engaged in that area too. So we now see that once you come to NYSC, please choose a particular area, during your CDS and what have you, and choose area that you want to increase yourself. So some people would go for human resources training, project management, customer service, or some people go for something handy. In fact, bead making.
I was on the soap making.
Right. So how far? So some people go for soap making, and these are the things that actually, and I can tell you, it equip a lot of people. You know why?
Yes.
Work or job opportunity today does not really, your first degree cannot even make you to get first job, except it's much more professional, right? So we expect you as someone who study business admin, what do you have in addition to it? So by having that additional thing, I think that actually helped to an extent. But the issue of other one that we have to do with handy something, I think we have to go beyond all those things. We have to attach them to a company, that they can actually study those things and come out of it. Because when you say entrepreneurship development, or people are doing bid making, after it, what happens, right? You have to attach them so that they will also have business orientation. You recall that even in our degrees and nowadays and polytechnic education, we still have what we call entrepreneurship now. I think it's now called. During my time, it was not a call something. So people are also doing. So I think we should go beyond that level, right? To make sure it's much more practical, it's much more professional, and they can actually do things by themselves. But to say NYSC doesn't have value, I think it's not correct. We only need to better it.
All right, so our last question on this before we move to our next conversation.
Right.
How can NYSC be transformed into a self-sustaining economic model rather than relying on government funding?
Thank you. Now,
also, do you think it should be made optional if you want to do it, if you don't want to do it?
Well, I don't think it should be made optional, because once you give that room open, everybody will have their way.
Yeah, okay.
And also, if you look at it, even serving now, people are started choosing where they want to go, especially FCT. You have influx of people, everybody want to serve.
I just wonder what they hope is going to happen.
Everybody wants to serve in Abuja. But I think the NYSC itself, they should make it much more private sector driven.
Okay.
Right, in terms of practicability. So if you come to serve in my company as AA Nigeria Limited, I'm to equip you beyond just that 1 year. That going forward, you'll be equipped that you can actually take a job in different places. Let's look at people in tech. If you're in tech for 3 months, it's a window for you that other company will be looking for you. So we have to start tailoring it to that extent that though government is there, but it should be private oriented. Private would now look at how they can train you and continue with you. You know, if that comes as an orientation, you know, every sector will not like to train people and throw them away. So they train you accurately, and government should supervise them to ensure that those people that are serving, they actually coming to work and they're actually getting the appropriate training. Because, you know, another thing is that they should also ensure that people are paid. You know, that's another thing we need to look at. Because when you go to some private sector, it's paddy. You know, you just go, you know, just for you to just come and mark and go. But they should make it much more conscious. In fact, they should have a level that if a core member is coming to serve, you should not pay less than 30,000. In addition to what
the government is paying, okay, less than half of minimum wage.
So if your NYSC is giving you 7,000 as they propose, and where you are going to pay you 100,000, I can tell some we are even doing 9 to 5 job and not getting 100,000 and naira. I think that will help. So, but it's a good thing that government should collaborate and see how private can actually because how many people can government employ? The long run is private that actually employ.
Actually, you know, in a sane and stable economy, the federal government shouldn't be the major employer of labor.
And let's look at the economic angle. Now let's look at how much we spend on them and the benefit for the country. I think it's very, as an economist, we have to look at that trade-off. Now, government should get more in the long run from these people, because if you have 1 year to train them, you should have like our GDP. It should reflect in GDP over time. That in fact they should even find a way of setting it. Maybe 1 to 5 years graduates, you understand. Try to look at the economic value of them in next 10 years. So you now see that, okay, what are we doing right to this set that we're not doing right to this? So you know that the labor market people are going into, they're going with something very tangible that will translate into good economy. So it's very, very key.
Okay, but there's so much to really unpack in this NYSC conversation. And but we need to move on to our next conversation, which is special locations and Nigerian spending power. I want to take a story from Bello Musa.
Needs and consumption change during the month of Ramadan as people shift to items they need for fasting. This has a significant impact on traders, with many counting gains and others on the flip side. Yes, we are recording higher patronage this Ramadan compared to the previous year, although prices have surged.
Duk azumi duk shekara zaka samu cewa cinikin ya dan bambanta.
The pattern of sales is different during Ramadan. Most of our customers come in the morning to buy medicines, which is why we open early.
Lokacin da mutane ke shan ruwa.
You came to market, gaskiya the price of fruit today is very high.
Yusuf Aliyu is a shoemaker. He says patronage is appreciable, but the cost of living has impacted their trade. We thank God because we are getting patronage, but I preferred last year where we recorded a higher turnout of customers. It is a total scramble here for the photographers, as people's patronage has shifted to other commodities needed for the Ramadan period. You know, people used to come to us for pleasure, but now they have shifted their focus to necessities. Besides, many people don't like taking photographs during fasting because they tend to lose weight. For the Ramadan period, some business owners have diversified to items that can quickly be sold.
Welcome back. We can see from that package one of the outputs, good outputs of Said, which is the shoemaking. Actually, when the shoemaking thing came into the skill acquisition entrepreneur development of the NYSC, it blew up, and we had a lot of people going into that, and we're having very beautiful products actually made for Nigerians, by Nigerians, and some actually are being exported. But back to the conversation. Special occasions, the impact on the economy, Nigerian spending power. Now, from that story, Mr. Ilias, you can see that there are two sides to it.
Right.
Some people now have more patronage, while some people are seeing a decline in patronage.
Right. I think as a Nigerian, let me put it by myself, I think we are driven by impulse.
Okay.
So we are driven by impulse and what is happening. In fact, I don't know how we usually even source for the fund for that impulse to actually achieve it. That's what I just think.
You tell yourself you only live once.
Honestly, so what happened is that everything that is happening, that's where we focused on. We even trade off other ones until that one actually comes. Like in the case of Ramadan, we know for the past 12 months that is a cycle.
Yes, it's coming.
And it's actually coming. But we wait until that time. And as it is, God always help us. That thing will now work at that period. So imagine if we give that spirit all through then for some people it's clear that most things are seasonal. So like the photographer that actually spoke, he agreed that what he's doing is for pleasure. So it is when you are at your pleasure period that you actually
and maybe
comes
at the celebrations, the Eid days,
the Eid days,
I'm sure he will have a lot of
in fact that could possibly cover for all those things. But what will he be eating before that period? So I think it's seasonal, and we are much more impulse people, and that's why the Western world are different from us. You will know the difference between, in fact, let me even say this: when you have in Nigeria, everybody knows that this man get money. When you do not have, everybody also see that. But some people are consistent in their lifestyle. That even when they don't have, you wouldn't know when you don't have. So they try to make a consistent life. It is in Nigeria that when you have small money, you decide that let me change my car, let me change my house. But not that, are you buying the car for a season or you are buying car to be used? Are you doing it for people to see you?
For luxury or
exactly,
necessity.
So, and that's why we need to also every time look at what we need and what we want. So, and that's why economists always look at it that, is it what you need? Is it what you want? So you have to look at it very well. The one that will last you, the one that will remain for you, and what. It also goes to every other occasion that we actually have in Nigeria.
Okay, so now we started with the Ramadan, but let's go to general occasions. Just a few weeks ago, the 14th of February is a big event. Valentine's Day was celebrated, and we saw how people went all out and all that. That's one occasion. Now we have the Christmas celebration, and we even have the Easter celebration coming up just right after the Eid celebrations. Now, what can you tell about our spending power? Because Nigerians, we must look our best. The tailors are going to make a lot of money right now. Shoemakers, a lot of people are going to be doing things. I want to make my hair. How does this special occasions impact the economy? Does it actually make us, have more money? Does it boost us?
I think it's cultural.
Okay.
And because it's cultural, most of us tilt towards it. So everybody prepare for a particular season, a particular period, and they actually, in fact, some people don't mind to save. Up to that level. I have some families who, when they are doing any festive, they will have to go to their village. When they're going to their village, they are planning to spend the millions of naira to just go to their village, join the group and what have you, and also come. I think it's much more cultural, which I think is not bad. But does it actually affect spending? Yes, I think everybody take advantage of it. Even the Nigerian economy. If you look at it in December, January, it takes every new dimension. So it's an opportunity to actually take. Was it 30 December?
Yes.
30 December. People tend to plan and execute. I think that
because of the I just got back people, the IJGB people, and apparently they come with a lot of
goodies.
Influx into the economy, things that they want to do.
In fact, government have what we call it diaspora remittance more in that period. So I don't think it's bad, but the thing is, it also make our economy to be weak sometimes and to be strong sometimes. So it's erode that consistency of the economy. And when you have inconsistency in the economy, it's difficult to plan except you have to also plan alongside.
But that would be the natural and wise thing to do, plan alongside the happenings.
Well, planning alongside the happening has to do with the economy itself. Look at why people are celebrating 30 December. And Nigerians hardly celebrate that because the money was not, the purchasing power has just been reduced. So we want a consistent economy. I think that is the best thing that should, so that will give us a good prediction of how things actually go, because now some people are only December, like you made mention of Valentine. During Valentine, people tend to buy something reddish. You know, people tend to take their lovers out. So people are targeting that season, that okay, this is what I should sell, and they are trying to be intuitive in their thinking to sell to Nigeria. It's not bad too, but consistency would have been the best. Okay,
so do Nigerians prioritize social status over financial security when it comes to celebrations?
Nigerians prioritize social status. I think you know the answer as well. People believe that I need to shine when everybody's actually shining. Even though I don't have the money, they look for another, alternative. Either they will pay later, just like what we call Ashwebi. I don't want to go there, but there's nothing we can do. We have to go there. So some people believe in that social status, that when everybody is buying Ashwebi. I saw one recently, and the Ashwebi is 100,000. And you see everybody is just linked to actually just to belong to buy the Ashwebi. I don't blame them. Maybe they have the will, but ideally you should just look at your financial status, not the social status. Time will come, you can be able to afford, because if you look at some people that are actually buying it, it doesn't cost them
anything.
Exactly. So when you don't have, you should remain your status as at that period. It doesn't really reduce you per se, but the perception.
Then there's the, what's the word? I don't actually like to believe in it, but it says fake it till you make it, or networking, all those.
I think that's why Africa is still Africa. Some people want to fake it until they actually, but some fake it and never make it. So you have to look at it and try to balance it. You know what is good for you. I think that's what I should say.
Okay, so now you talked about loans. So let's go to that. The credit culture, loans for events, and we see that happening. I think last year we had a couple of stories where they said they borrowed money to have this big wedding, and now their hands are on their heads. They're wailing on how to pay back. They were expecting a lot of money from the dancing that they would get from people, but it did not pan out.
If I'm to be sincere, I did my wedding ceremony, and after that, I like to advise people on that that are doing after me, but I was cautioned not to advise them, because they will say you actually did your own. I think we spend too much on the word wedding. Some people have their wedding on Friday, some have it on Thursday, and it's perfectly well. In fact, religiously, because we're in the month of Ramadan, the lesser the noise you make, the more the blessing. But how will you preach all this to people that you don't even need to make the noise? In fact, the money you expended on where they can give you a house in some, can even buy you some property. So if you look at it and going forward, look at your families, how you can maintain the status, it is better. But Nigerian today, people borrow money because of status. You know why? Some of us also believe in status. That the way you see, just like the way we have social media now. See some families, the way they package themselves, the way they see, people seem to believe that that's a reality, and it's a serious problem. And we need a good orientation, and the orientation can only come from two places. It's not a federal government issue, the church and the mosque. That be yourself until we can preach that and will not preach prosperity.
We also have those who don't believe in God.
So. No. Well, people, we have people don't believe in God. Okay, let me say we are religious in Nigeria. So because we are religious, is a way we can key in, because most of our even religious houses preach prosperity even more. So they add to the problem of people trying to look good, to meet up the status and whatever. We must change our orientation.
Okay, so now let's come back to a few things. How do the financial institutions, how can they create some sort of saving and budgeting solutions for special occasions?
Right, I think they actually have it. I've seen some banks. While I was coming here now, I saw a particular advert talked about pilgrimage, that you can actually save for pilgrimage. So sometimes most of them have accounts. They may not call, the nomenclature might not just be marriage, wedding, burial, because we have some people, they do burial more than they will do wedding, so to say. So you can get an account, and bank is open for you. You can, in fact, we have some online let me not mention some online banking that you can be tailored, you can be doing every day, you know, like normal adashi, ajo, you know, that we usually do.
Now have apps for those kind of
exactly, we
things.
now have apps for those things. So I think it's welcome. It's not bad. That will even reduce pressure on you because you know that next 1 year you want to achieve X, Y, Z. And then you start. I think that is even better than for you to go impulse. Because the major problem is the impulse now. That some people will even look their children's school fees, do the occasion first. Later, they will come and be solving the challenge of school. I think that culture is a good one.
So, what advice can we give on to balancing social spending with long-term financial security?
Right, and that's where I will go back to your need versus your want. You have to prioritize what you actually need. Okay, for me, I know maybe my wards, my children, they will soon be in secondary school, they will soon be in university. So I'll be looking at it and be planning towards that. You know, that's a need. You can't just deny them. Though some people don't mind. They don't mind, but that's a need that you must have to look at compared to your want. So, I want to do occasion. I believe there will be many occasions over time. So these are the things you have to look at your need and weigh it compared to your want.
Okay, now our cost of living, has it actually affected our spending habits? Has there been any sort of, because of this situation, I'm not going to be able to buy clothes for my children this year or do Christmas like I would do in the last 3 years?
Right. I think purchasing power, let me use that language, have actually taught us a lot of lessons in Nigeria, especially this period. So now, where do we spend more into? That's where we'll take it from. We spend more into food.
Yes.
So because you spend about 60 to 70% into food, it has actually denied you buying other things. Before you now do transportation, house rent, school fees. I think it has made us all to prioritize what to actually. I can tell you, go to many households, they have killed some idea of buying some things for some things. Egg, as it were. Some family have said no to egg because it's quite expensive. They are looking for something else. So you know, since some family that cannot buy egg, we now want to spend money for social occasion, except they are not rational. So it's key.
All right. That's the much we have for you today on Business Daily. And I've been talking to Mr. Ilias, Aliyu Ilias, an economist and supply chain expert and a development analyst. And we've had a very quite eye-opening conversation and even inspiring conversation as regards to NYSC. Is it an economic great thing for us in this country or a social experiment? Now, it was a social experiment when it was started in 1973 to help unify and integrate us as one country. But over time, it has turned out to be something more. It has now become an economic thing for this country in its own way. Hopefully, as Mr. Ilias has said earlier, the government will find a way to implement certain structures so that it could be self-sustaining away from government funding. Of course, our second conversation was on special occasions and spending habits of Nigeria. We can see the impact that, when certain things are happening, people tend to spend more. It's now Ramadan, the holy month, and food, has gone up. People are buying food. People that want to look good for the Salah celebrations upcoming are gearing towards it. How do we spend as a country during special occasions? That's what we'll be discussing today on Business Daily. Don't forget to stay with us for more programs, documentaries, and news. I am Chiamaka, Nwafor, same place, same time tomorrow. Bye for now.